Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another edition of the Johncast podcast. Today I'm going to be doing a review on The Batman. Finally got around to watching it as it came out on HBO. No, I'm late to the party. Going to give you my thoughts and opinions on the movie. There are going to be spoilers in this video. Spoilers ahead. Now is your opportunity to get out. So let's start getting into it. Let's break this down and let's talking about vengeance. Sorry, I mean Batman. I'm going to start this by talking about Robert Pattinson. I gotta say that when it was announced that Robert Pattinson was going to be playing Bruce Wayne in this movie, Batman, I wasn't really sold on it. I wasn't the biggest fan. I didn't really view it negatively. It's just that for me, Robert Pattinson is just the guy who played, or sorry, not played, the guy that was in Twilight. I've never seen Twilight. Judge me now. Um, so yeah, I that's a fault of my own. I haven't really seen him in other works to see what it is that he brings to the table. So I gotta say that after reviewing the Batman, I view him differently. I was really impressed with the role that he gave us. I really enjoyed the movie, and I really enjoyed his Bruce Wayne. I kind of believe that I like more so that they gave us a Bruce Wayne that is already 2 years into being Batman. I'm happy that we didn't get like an origin story, all this stuff. I think that we're in a time and age of at least superhero movies that most of this stuff when it comes to origin stories has already been done, and especially when they decide to do new takes on a character, I don't really feel like the need to get that origin story anymore. And just to jump on a another real quick superhero, that's kind of how it's been done recently in Spider-Man. Feel like they didn't give us the he got bit by a spider, Uncle Ben died. They kind of did three movies that if you just look at it in a from the whole perspective, those three movies kind of serve as his origin story, and that was kind of a different way to tell a story of a character that we've seen different iteration of through the years. So back to Batman, I enjoyed like the movie starting, and you get a moment with Riddler. I'm gonna come back to that later, but I want to go to the next part. There's kind of an opening monologue that lasts maybe good 2 minutes or so, 3 minutes, and that's of Robert Pattinson slash Bruce Wayne talking about Gotham, talking about the work he's doing, talking about he doesn't really know if it's making a difference. That whole section right there in the beginning of the movie kind of sold me right away on what this movie was about.
Thursday, October 31st. The city streets are crowded for the holiday. Even with the rain.
It set the atmosphere in showing you're seeing Gotham as Gotham. There it starts with Gordon shining the spotlight, and now Batman being 2 years into it, it's showing, yeah, there's still crime and stuff on the streets. Crime is at an all-time high right now. It's showing, I believe, a store being robbed, and then from the store being robbed, you're seeing these people vandalize a building, and then you cut to a guy on a train, and then there's a group of people on the train that kind of point out this guy that they were gonna, beat up and jump, and it's showing all these different perspectives, and then it kind of turns to a way that he says that he's not sure if he's truly making a difference, but he knows that when that light goes up, it's a symbol, it's fear, because now the point that we're at, everybody looks in the dark because they don't know if Batman is there. There's the possibility of Batman is there. So you have three different perspectives of three different situations of the guy robbing the store. He looks up and he sees the bat signal. And then because he sees the bat signal, he kind of starts, looking around, and he gets nervous, not paying attention. And I believe he drops the money that he was robbing and runs off. Not sure if he dropped it, but he just runs off. And you got the guy that they show vandalizing the building. There's a very dark corner in the building, and then he stops, he looks up, see the light, and then he looks behind him into this corner, and is kind of questioning, like is he there? And then he kind of in fear just drops everything and runs away. And then you cut to the train and what happens in the train station. That's the first time you see Robert Pattinson as Batman in the movie. And I feel like this is probably going to become a big meme at this point, but this is when we get introduced to I'm Vengeance.
The hell are you supposed to be?
I'm vengeance.
I gotta say that from that moment, there is a very distinct camera setup and also sound that happens, and I enjoy it every time it happens. And this was there's like when Batman comes into screen, I feel like every time he's on screen, and if you're looking at him from a perspective of the person he's after or somebody else, it's kind of like the camera is kind of focused in on him. It's mostly upper body shot when it happens, and then it focuses on him, and everything in the background kind of it fades out, or not really fades, but it's out of focus. And I love that from a just viewing the movie. I thought that was an amazing touch because it happens a lot in the movie, and I don't know if a lot of people really picked up on that, but I really thought that was an amazing touch because it just kind of makes you feel what they're seeing, like, oh my god, like it's Batman. And then along with that, you get the sound cue of this almost happens every time of you hear him walking, you hear his boots, just the thuds of his boots walking, and they come up, and in that scene, that's when he walks up and he tells him, hey, like, who do you think you are? And he tells him, I'm Vengeance. Now, sorry, I really wish by the end of the movie we got the classic Batman animated series line.
I am vengeance. I am the night. I am Batman.
But maybe that hold off on that, just like Marvel held off on the Avengers Assemble. But hopefully we'll get there one day. As the time of this recording, it was just confirmed that Batman is getting a part 2, so that's good news. But to continue, so that whole opening scene of the movie right there, I really feel like it sold me. It got me kind of like, oh, okay, now I see what this movie is kind of going to be about. I'm here. I'm in the mindset now. I understand what you're giving me. I'm enjoying it. I really enjoyed his opening monologue, him talking about Gotham, him talking about the work he's done, him talking about not truly knowing if he's made a difference or not. It's a good way to really get me into the mindset of what is going through Bruce Wayne's mind right now. And then we go on to the next scene of him being detective, going to a crime scene. Not a lot of movies, at least when they do Batman, give us the world's greatest detective that we know in comic books. Right now, I wouldn't necessarily call him world's greatest detective in this movie, but it is a start to show that he's able to piece together parts of a crime scene. And because we don't get that a lot in movies, like we go with the Christopher Nolan trilogy, I feel like those movies focused on Batman being a fighter, Batman being, gadgets, all that stuff. And then, we have the classic Batman movies. They don't really focus on the detective side of Batman. And like I said, I don't really feel like in this movie it was world's greatest detective. It wasn't perfect, but again, it's a year 2 Batman. And that is something that you have to keep coming to throughout this movie, especially when like maybe he's making mistakes in the movie. And it's already kind of telling you he's figuring out his way. I can't expect him to be the Batman I've known and loved for years, to be able to figure out any situation. He's not there yet. He's still working on it. So throughout the crime scene, I enjoy that with his interaction with the police officers. It shows that they're unsure of him. Like he's just a freak in their minds. He's just a guy in a suit going out at night to fight crime. He's a crazy person at the end of the day. He doesn't have the best dynamic with the police, but he has Gordon on his side. And in this movie, he's a detective, not really, the captain yet. But him coming to the scene and just again how people view him. Now it's not in this scene, it's kind of like I feel like when they show him, they're showing him from the police side now. Kind of showing him, like it's weary of him. They're watching him from the background, just kind of like, what are you doing? All this stuff. And when the commissioner arrives and is just like, what is he doing here? All this stuff. He's already kind of figured out part of the puzzle in the crime scene with the riddles and stuff. And then you continue on to the next part of his kind of monologue of after that, of coming out, of taking the cape off and going back to the Batcave. Now this whole opening scene is probably like 10 to 15 minutes long. I might be longer than that, don't really remember, but yeah, just that whole process right there, just kind of showing us we got to see Batman as the fighter, fighting off those people. Then we went into showing Batman as a detective, and then we went into who is Bruce Wayne kind of thing. What is Bruce Wayne doing outside of this? And I thought that was kind of an amazing thing to do, an amazing touch for us to go in that process to show us all the aspects of who are we seeing in this movie. Now, I don't really feel like we've seen a lot of Bruce Wayne in this movie, but we definitely got to see a lot of Batman. I believe that by the time you get out of this, you have formed, the entirety of the characters that you're seeing. In terms of Batman as the fighter, Batman as a detective, and now we've transitioned to Bruce Wayne. Now, the one thing I have to say about Robert Pattinson is I feel like they did a lot of shots where they tried to show off kind of his body. One of them, I think it only happens 2 times, but one of them worked for me and one of them didn't. One worked, and I think this is probably because this is probably the Marvel state of mind of doing stuff. Most of these actors that get the main, roles, they have, these chiseled bodies and, just muscles and all that. And I felt like they tried to do that with Robert Pattinson, but he doesn't really have the body for that. The first time they do it when Bruce Wayne first emerges, it's kind of just showing the scars that he carries, the scars, the bruises from, the night from being Batman. It's showing that. And I felt like in that moment, it showed me, okay, this guy is getting beaten up. They're showing us the burden he carries of being Batman. And I gotta say that in that moment it worked. And now we got another moment later in the movie when they tried to show kind of like, I guess, a muscle shot. And he was pushing a table around and he had his shirt off and he's pushing and they're showing a back shot to kind of make it look like he has all these muscles in the back. But Robert Pattinson his body is not like that type. He's not built like that for that scene to work. So it kind of looked weird. But that's my opinion. Welcome to talk to me about how you feel about your opinion on that. But yeah, so from all that stuff that's going on right there, that first 15 minutes of the movie, that kind of sold me on Robert Pattinson being Batman. The opening monologue had me sold. Him showing up at the beginning with the I'm vengeance thing, and beating all the people up in the train station. And there's also that small interaction with a civilian that's getting threatened, and it's showing him that he's not even sure of how to view Batman. Batman is not viewed as like a hero at this point. He says to Batman, "Hey, like, don't hurt me, please. Like, I don't want any trouble." And Batman is there to save him, and he just looks away. So at this point, there's a dynamic, I believe, of from beginning to end of the movie. You start with the beginning of the movie of Batman being a symbol of fear to everybody. And then at the end of the movie, you transition to Batman being a symbol of hope. And from beginning to end of seeing that process, I thought, like, underlying detail was amazing.
The hell are you supposed to be?
I'm vengeance.
Okay, so now that I'm done gushing about Robert Pattinson, I want to talk about the rest of the cast. I thought this movie had a well-rounded cast. I'm not gonna say like amazing, but definitely well rounded. I thought everybody did their job. I want to highlight a few people. Paul Dano as Riddler. I definitely enjoyed him as Riddler. I enjoyed the portrayal he gave. Now this comment is coming from based on what I've seen on Twitter in reaction to the movie when it first came out. I kind of feel like a lot of people give Jim Carrey like the mantle for being the best Riddler, and I feel like that's important to. Usually, when we see Riddler, he has a kind of a witty take in the same way that Joker has a witty, kind of witty but lethal in a way. And I felt like in terms of what Paul Dano brought to the table, he clearly brought like kind of a unhinged person, like a person who's not sane, persons who's clearly been through a lot of trauma in his life, and just found a way to get back at the world for what they did to him. And I feel like his portrayal, like when they first show him, well, when we first see him, it's him in from the view of a binoculars looking onto the mayor at the time, and watching him and his son from another rooftop, him playing with his son. It's Halloween. So yeah, and then when we first like visually see him, that was kind of like just a, I'm not gonna say jump scare, but it's like a whoa, like kind of moment, like okay, like so you have the the mayor at the time, the mayor, I believe the mayor elect, might be using the wrong term, the candidate, mayoral candidate, at the time, he's in a room watching a debate with, I believe the other candidate is Bella Real is her name, and he's watching the TV, and then he makes a phone call, and then he walks away, kind of, but the shot is still centered, and when he walks away, you just have the Riddler standing there, and he's standing there, and the only thing you see moving is his eyes, watching Paul Dano, and it's like, whoa, okay, all right, I see what we're about, I see what we're doing now with this character, and he's just standing there, and he's on the phone, walking forth, and it's just like, okay, like he didn't move, he didn't say anything, you just see him watching, and then he turns the TV off, and then that's when he attacks him, but when he attacks him, he yells really loudly, and when you see him at different points of the movie, and see, you get the glimpse of, or you see into who this person is, and how unhinged he truly is, and I just thought, like, Paul Dano did an excellent job, he knocked it out of the park. I'm not gonna put him on like Heath Ledger level, like Heath Ledger's Joker level of, in terms of villain, but I kind of feel, personally, I feel like I may have enjoyed him as Riddler a little bit more than I enjoyed Robert Pattinson as Batman. Controversy take, maybe, I don't know, but in my opinion. And then as we go on to the rest of the cast, that next person I want to at least a shout out, because I don't really feel like he also had a big role super big role in the movie. Colin Farrell as Penguin. Had I not looked up the cast of this movie or even heard the castings of this movie, would have never known that Colin Farrell was playing Penguin, because the prosthetics that he's wearing, along with the makeup, they do a great job of just making him look like an entirely different person, and it's great, it's amazing in terms of, just being Penguin. I just felt like he has probably one of the best like appearances of being Penguin, because I think in movies the only one I can really think of is the really cartoonish take of Penguin, and then you have maybe the Gotham TV show, which is more of a younger Penguin in that movie, and not that movie, in that show. And yeah, I feel like in terms of like big screen Penguins, it definitely has to be, talked about. I hope, like, as we go down the movies, he has kind of more screen time, bigger role in the movie, and to show what he is, because I definitely feel like in this movie they get a lot of insight into him, like in terms of, he's the second to Carmine Falcone. He is, he has a reputation, of kind of not really, I guess, being intimidated. It's shown multiple times that people are not afraid to go after him if it needs to be. So, yeah. And then one thing I do want to say, circling back around to Paul Dano, this is Barry Keoghan. Barry Keoghan plays what is I believe to be the Joker, confirmed, not confirmed, Joker. There is a deleted scene that came out after the movie aired in theaters, had its runtime, of Batman going to Blackgate, I believe. I believe that's the prison in the movie. I'm not sure if it was Arkham or Blackgate, but he goes there to talk to the Joker to get insight into the criminal mind. Now that scene in itself, it is on the internet. You can go watch it if you want to. I'm not going to really kind of dive super deep into it, but I'm happy that that scene was not included in the movie, because I feel that if that scene was included in the movie, it would have completely took away from what the Riddler had built up throughout that movie. I feel like, because this is probably like a middle of the movie thing from the vibe of that scene, I feel like at that moment, if it would have been in the middle of the movie, it would have derailed everything. Like, the movie could have played on exactly how it is. I believe the movie is great as it is, but if he was included in the movie in the middle of the movie, I feel like at that point, as a member of the audience, my mind would have probably been engaged to just to think, wow, like, Joker is in this movie, like, are we going to see more Joker? Maybe it's created a false sense of expectation that now I may see him in the end of the movie because he's appeared in the middle. I love that they what the actual plan became is he's at the end of the movie kind of making a cameo appearance from the prison cell next to Riddler, and he's having a conversation to him. I'm happy that they used him in that manner. I'm happy that that's what they kept it to, because, like I said, it would have just took away a lot from what Paul Dano was doing as Riddler in the movie. And then last person I want to talk about is Zoe Kravitz. I just believe she did a great job as Selena Kyle. I'm not gonna not legendary or anything, but she did a great job. I enjoyed her performance. I enjoyed the portrayal that she gave. And then one other person, Jeffrey Wright as Jim Gordon. I kind of feel like, again, he didn't do anything really like a standout performance. I felt like he performed typical Jim Gordon. Like, he doesn't really stand out from everybody else, like, in a way, who's been Jim Gordon throughout our movies, but he did a great job. I just kind of felt like, in terms of like acting presence, I kind of felt like maybe, yeah, like Jeffrey Wright is kind of up there for me, at least. So seeing him as Jim Gordon was definitely good, definitely great.
The hell are you supposed to be?
I'm vengeance.
Okay, so let's cap this off by getting into the story. Like I said, there's spoilers. I'm not going to spoil every single detail of the movie, but there's going to be kind of important parts that I talk about. But in terms of story, beginning to end, I really enjoyed it. This movie is inspired, or one of the inspirations of this movie is inspired by a very popular comic book, The Long Halloween. So, sorry, in terms of beginning to end, beat for beat, I thought it was, a great story that played out beginning to end. Year 2 Batman unearthing the greater conspiracy within Gotham with the help of the Riddler, basically. The Riddler is our villain in the movie. He is trying to unseat the corruption in Gotham, but at the same time destroy Gotham to, I want to say, begin it anew, in a way, to get rid of the corruption. And I feel, at least in terms of the Riddler's plan, I enjoyed that every single part of his plan had importance. It wasn't like something was out of place. It wasn't like something was thrown away. It was kind of thing, we see something in the beginning and it comes full circle. And that's meaning, just for like all the people that he kills, at least the important figures, they were killed for a specific reason, or even in killing them for a specific reason, there were certain things that needed to happen, I guess. So with Batman, at least, he viewed Batman as kind of a partner, because he believed, as mass vigilantes, Batman would understand him the best. And in the very first kill, you see there's a specific murder weapon. I forget the name. They say what it is in the movie, but it's a tool that's used to help kind of dig up a carpet from that's kind of in how it's seated into the ground. It's a tool that's used to kind of prop it up. And that tool is of relevance by the time you get to the end of the movie, but the little things as well as you go along, and the Riddler cut off the mayor's thumb, and it ended up being part of, a riddle, and eventually, I believe it led to them finding a codex, I believe, of using it to decipher the riddles, but then it turns out being a clue in itself to the location of this as a thumb drive. But what they find is the shears that was used to cut off the finger is stuck in a car, and then they found a car, and Batman knows, I'm looking for a USB port because he's looking for a drive, and with that drive is the thumb that was cut off that's attached to it. And now they find this drive, put it in the computer, but the the thumb drive is encrypted, but that's because it needs the fingerprint, which is the mayor's thumb. So that whole, little sequence right there is like I want to say something small, but kind of creates how deep something can be on the surface. So even when you get to the next kill, which is the commissioner, he was killed by, I believe it was rats, and it was something that was put over his head. Kind of reminded me of a saw trap, but there was a maze in it, and knowing what a maze is, Batman held like a blue light to it and saw there was, the codex that was there, realizing there's something greater to it, which led to another message for Batman. And or like stuff like that throughout the movie, because that's the majority of the movie of how it plays out, is following the trail to what comes next, unearthing who is the greater, not the greater evil, but who is the big player here, who is everybody bowing down to. You get to the DA, who shows that he's in fear of somebody. There's somebody behind the scenes running everything, and that person ends up being revealed by the end of the movie to be Carmine Falcone. And it's revealed that Carmine Falcone took over Thomas Wayne. I forget the name of the fund, but there was a fund that was supposed to be used to help Gotham, to help build Gotham up, to help Gotham be a prosperous place, and to help the lower class in Gotham. But Carmine, because of the death of Thomas Wayne, somehow Carmine Falcone got everybody, all the mob bosses, I believe, got a share of it, but Carmine Falcone orchestrated a bunch of events to get the greater share, basically get the whole fund to himself. And in doing that, he was able to kind of put everybody in his pocket. And because now everybody's in his pocket, he pretty much runs all of Gotham from behind the scenes. Everybody reports to him. So that story unto itself, and also with, like I said, this being a year 2 Batman, I just feel like they did good in everything that at least they had set out for me as the viewer. As watching the movie, I was never bored. It is a 3-hour movie, and I can't really say that it felt like it was a 3-hour movie. I felt like it was going along. It's going along. I was good through all the parts. I enjoyed more the action scenes. I enjoyed the Batman being a detective scenes. I feel like they gave me the information. I never really feel like I got bored at any point through the movie. One of my favorite sequences in the movie is the Batmobile chase sequence with Penguin. I definitely enjoyed that. It seemed like they knocked him out, and in a way the camera just cuts, you hear an engine revving, and it's just him. That whole chase sequence was awesome. I enjoyed it. In terms of the look of the Batmobile, not personally one of my favorites. It's just like a souped up muscle car. I don't think that's bad. I think it's great. Just not personally my favorite. I think probably my favorite is maybe still, I want to say, the Tumbler from the Christopher Nolan trilogy. I think that's probably still my favorite, at least on screen, Batmobile. In terms of Batman himself, here it goes. I think right now Robert Pattinson may be my favorite Batman. And it's only one movie. I'm not gonna plant my flag in the ground yet, but I think so far I like him better than Christian Bale as Batman. But again, Christian Bale just had it was a lot of the gadgets that made him stand out. It it was the voice that makes it memorable, all that stuff. It's not saying that he did a bad job or anything. I just, I enjoyed those movies for what they were and everything around them. But Robert Pattinson's take on it, at least what I don't really feel like I can compare the two either. But him being a Batman in year two, you're getting a broody Bruce Wayne, you're getting a guy who's still trying to find his way of being Batman. You're getting a guy who's still, in the learning process of being Batman. He even says in the beginning of the movie, I'm not sure if I'm truly making a difference right now. But by the end of the movie, you start to see that, yes, in some way he is making a difference. Somehow he is kind of forcing Gotham to change. So you see this character right now. I feel like we're seeing similar to, I think I brought it up earlier, of Spider-Man's, those three movies being like his origin story. I kind of feel like maybe the Matt Reeves direction, maybe something similar in a way of like, this is this Batman's origin story. We're seeing him being built up. I didn't need to see Thomas and Martha Wayne die because we already know Thomas and Martha Wayne died. That's in every iteration of Batman, they're going to die. But I believe that in Robert Pattinson, he gives me just more of a kind of a complete Batman in a way. Like I said, it's not perfect, but I do feel that for what I seen on screen, I did see a Batman. I don't feel like he did better than at least Ben Affleck did, and because I feel Ben Affleck gets all this shine for one scene in Batman v Superman, which was an amazing scene. Hands down, probably still my favorite scene, but I don't really feel Robert Pattinson is on that level, but he did give me good fighting scenes. But like I said, what also puts him above is that I get to see the detective side of Batman that we don't usually get to see. And that's why, at least right now, he's kind of jumping above everybody for me. This may be just my feelings after seeing the movie fresh. It could change down the line, but that's how I feel today. So for Ben Affleck, I don't really even consider him as one of the best Batman because I feel he didn't even get his own movie, so I don't really feel like I could put him in a discussion as everybody else. He got a movie that he takes part in, Batman v Superman, which it wasn't an amazing movie. And we had Justice League, which, depending on which side of the movie you go to, we had the original Justice League, which wasn't all that. You had the eventual release of the Snyder Cut, and even still within the Snyder Cut, he did a good job, but again, it's not like he got his own movie to stand apart from everybody else. He's in a movie that's also held up by other superheroes. So, and even when you see him in other appearances, yeah, he has the look of Batman, but I haven't seen enough for me to say that I would prop him up there. So he would probably be in the bottom tier of Batman. So Pattinson right now, probably after this movie, I will prop up as my favorite Batman. That's cringy for me to say this. I feel like Kenny of Random News is going to see this and probably make fun of me because I made so many jokes about this movie, but we shall see how that goes. But yeah, that is my take on the Batman. If I have to give it a grade, out of 10, I will probably lean on a solid 8 out of 10. I really enjoyed the movie. I definitely think it's worth a watch. HBO Max is where it's at. Definitely go watch it if you haven't. Definitely would like to hear your opinions if you haven't seen it yet. But yeah, definitely go watch it. Definitely 100%. I think this direction that the DC movie plate is going, I like it. I like these kind of, right now it's standalone, but these standalone reboots that they're doing. And I feel like, at least in terms of director Matt Reeves, I feel like he needs to just, or at least DC, Warner Brothers, all these people need to just let him continue his vision without having to worry about inserting other characters into his vision. We have all these other properties, let them exist on their own. It's okay to have different kind of universes because that's where we at, multiverse of stuff. I think it's fine if we end up having like three different Batmen existing in a movie universe. I personally think it's fine. I feel like the director, Matt Reeves, should just be allowed to continue his vision without having to worry about, hey, I might need to include Superman in the movie. Hey, I might need to do this. Just let him do his thing. Like, just like with the Joker, how that movie is standalone. I think it would be cool, in my opinion, to see him, alongside Robert Pattinson, but I don't really need it. I don't really need him to appear like in a later movie. He can, the Joker can continue on his own path. Let that, if there's going to be multiple movies in that series, let that be. For now, I think the Batman, because it can be something special, let it exist on his own and let it become whatever it becomes. If it ends up being like the next Nolan trilogy, let it be that. Let it be that on his own. I don't need Justice League, all that stuff. I don't need it. If it makes sense, if it's done in a way for it to make sense, like it was a build up and it earned it, then yes. But I don't need the direction, like next movie. I don't need them just to tell me all of a sudden, hey, we're gonna have Green Lantern and Superman in the next movie. I don't need that. Just let Matt Reeves do what he's doing. He did an amazing job on this film. And yeah, I think I'm done. I don't want to go on anymore. So yeah, go check out John Cast Podcast. If you're here on YouTube, why don't you hit that subscribe button, give me a like, and go find me on the podcast platforms. Go find me on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram, JTraw180 on both of them. And yeah, hope you guys have a good rest of the day, afternoon, or night. Peace.